2. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, sir. It's on. Yeah. All right. Thanks. Got it. All right. Appreciate it. Yeah. You good? We on? Okay. Good to see you. Yes. All right. Good morning. Glad that y'all are with us today. Yes, you are come to the light. Um, what an image. Hope that everybody's doing okay. This is one of those mornings where you come and you show up early, then you just start flipping things and turning on things and unlocking things like you normally do, or like I normally do, and things didn't work this morning, so we were hopping early to get heat on in the building. Thanks to Joey Doolin, and to get that rolling so it'll be ready by worship for sure. Glad that y'all are with us today. Kind of got so I'm going to angle this way, and so we can preach to the choir. All right, Luke chapter 18. That's the passage we're going to look at today. Fun passage. This one's good. I love Luke's lessons. I mean, a lot of the parables we've gotten this year, and we're going to hear the same theme one more time. That really pervades the gospel of Luke, and y'all will probably pick up on that as we do it. Everybody got your passage? Remember, is it familiar? What jumps out to me? What did I notice that I've never seen before? Maybe what is it I've always seen? How does it kind of connect with the parables that we've already heard from Luke? And then ultimately, maybe what challenges us about it, what confuses us about it, what frustrates us about it. That's one thing parables do. They're supposed to frustrate us on some levels. And so, and at the end of that, then we'll say, what does this mean for us? Okay? Here we go. Luke 18:9 through 14. He also told this parable, he being Jesus, to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and regarded others with contempt. So notice right up front, Luke tells us, he doesn't even leave it to our imagination again. He tells us right up front, this is what this parable is about. Okay. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, was praying thus, God, I thank you that I am not like other people, thieves and rogues, adulterers, or even this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give a tenth of all my income. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even look up to heaven, but was beating his breast and saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his home justified rather than the other. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, but all who humble themselves will be exalted. Familiar? Well, y'all know this one, right? Okay, good. Just let me keep a track of time. Sorry. So, it's familiar to us. So this is one pretty common. It rolls around every 3 years. It is pretty well. It's Luke's parable, or it's in Luke. It's not in the others. So that's part of that. So that helps you kind of also think, what Luke is always trying to say when he's using the gospel. So what'd you hear that you might not have heard before? Nothing stood out, or this is pretty standard, straightforward? Pretty cut and dry. Okay. All righty. So then, what did you hear? Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. I'm not one's. Thank you, Jesus, for for me. Thank you for me, and and so and the other is a little contrite. So, that's right. It's just, yeah, yeah, that's right. Okay. Ooh, okay. How spiritual? Very good. How spiritual he is. He's, uh, Thank you. That's right. That's right. And okay, so he's really got two things going on with his this theology, basically, right? One is thank God I'm doing well, but not just thank God for me, but thank God I'm me and not them. So you really got two particular things going on. One is self-righteousness, and the other is contempt for others, which is what we're told. This is what Jesus is aiming at, or at least it's what Luke's aiming at. Okay, so oh, okay, the, great point. You and that's Luke's other distinction here is that who are the two characters that we're looking at? Pharisee, religious guy, study of the law. People look to them to be spiritual leaders. They're the people who are, you would assume, are the religious people. The tax collectors are the hated because they're Jews who are working for the Roman government, somebody else's government. We don't like tax collectors. First of all, we certainly don't like tax collectors who are working for another country. Who their issue was that one writer I read this week that people may have paid up to 85% of what they did, because you had to pay your tax, and then the tax collector, to make their money, was what else they could get from you. So you pay your taxes, whatever tax bracket you're in. I don't know what they are anymore, but so you're in the 25% tax bracket, and then so the tax collector, to make his money, he's whatever he can get over that is how he walks out, right? So when we get to next week, I think it's next week, we get to Zacchaeus. We're told he's a chief tax collector and he's rich. So he did really well in getting his cut. So he is the first Amway Shiite terrorist, So, but that's next week. But this is a tax collector. So in the scheme of things, they were kind of bullyish people in how they functioned and worked. So so how has Luke set this parable up, or Jesus set this parable up for us? That the Pharisee is the arrogant one, and the tax collector is the repentant one. Ooh, okay, that everybody's equal, right? And in the eyes of the Lord, right? And that sometimes, one more time in Luke, this kingdom of reversals. Remember Lazarus and the rich man? You have that whole notion. Hey, y'all, we're in Luke chapter 18, 9 through 14. So you have, Lazarus and then the rich man. The Lazarus, the poor guy, gets named. The rich man doesn't. Guess what? In the end, the rich guy gets tortured and the poor guy gets elevated. What are some others? In the Good Samaritan, the most hated of hateds, ends up being the champion, and the priest and the Levite go the other side of the road. And the neighbor turns out to be the people we hate the most. So Luke has this theme going on about us that the kingdom of God isn't exactly what we want it to be or what we always think it should be. That it's kind of turned upside down. Now that's good unless we sit and think about it long enough, because okay, who is the loser in this story? The Pharisee, huh? Go ahead. Well, in this story, the person that Jesus says doesn't go home justified is the religious person, right? And by the very nature of us sitting in this room on 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning, oh, if we think about it long enough, we go, huh, who's he aiming at here? Something to think about. Okay, so what's the other problem though with this passage though? That, I mean, when you think about it a little bit, the Pharisee, what's he do wrong, or what's he do right? Yeah, he thanks God. He's giving tithes. Hey man, he's yeah, I like him. So he gives 10%. Sorry, that's pretty good. So, and what else does he do? He fasts twice a week. I'm not going to ask. Well, how about just rhetorically? No responses. Anybody else out here fasting? To not to stay healthy, lose weight, any of those kind of things, but to say you fast so you're in a spiritual sort of way. I mean, well, that's a good question. I mean, that is a good question. Isn't it doing him any good? I don't know. I mean, maybe. Yes, it does push us back to grace. But okay, from an outside appearance, anybody walking down the street, we go, oh, this guy's pretty good, right? Fast, ties, puts Jesus bumper stickers on his car. Where's Jesus jewelry? I mean, talks religious. Yes, right. From your upbringing, that's right. Those can be annoying, but so again, one more time, you have this juxtaposed persons here, and let's look at the tax collector, the whole praying and posturing here too. Notice how they posture. I love the way that the writer really sets this up for us. The Pharisee standing by himself, praying thus, God, I'm wonderful. Thanks. Thank you for making me be me. Okay. And then the tax collector standing far off. Get it? I can't be close. And then would not even look up to heaven. In that day, it was pretty common for men to pray like this. You would pray up with your hands open, to receive, that kind of thing, but that you look up. He won't even do that. And here he is, just pounding on himself, bringing punishment to himself. And his only prayer is, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. He's oblivious to everybody else. The Pharisee's like, looking, he's standing there praying, I guess, going, God, thank you. I'm not like these other people. Oh, like that guy right there. So, yeah, he's, his attention in his prayer is somewhat different. So, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. As far as the tax collectors didn't get a break from anyone. You know what I mean? They come up, they do come up a lot because they're not liked. They are not liked at all. But Jesus kind of connects with them, you know, because they are considered outsiders. I mean, and again, it is such a, it's a hard concept for Western culture on some levels to even capture the disdain because, well, because we aren't controlled by any other governments, or by any other country. We don't know what that feels like. I mean, like uh, Hong Kong or something. You know, we don't know what that feels like to be controlled by foreign government, and so and just the disdain you would have for one of your very own to be like that. And so they don't ever, they're not ever really liked. That's for sure. And so Luke definitely has setting off his contrast here. Also, too, we're told another. Where we're not told this. Okay, he does this prayer, and the parable doesn't continue. We don't know. Did he walk out of there and go, "I quit. I'm not going to be a tax collector anymore"? We're not told that. We're definitely not told that next week when we get to Zacchaeus, because he says, "Hey, if I rip somebody off, I will pay them back 4 times." If. And he didn't say, "I thereby resign, and tomorrow I will be, you know, jobless." He didn't say that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not serious. I don't know. That's next week. That's next week. Yeah. Here we're focusing on these 2 people. So we have this notion here of this tension, which is always the tension that we have in as Reformed tradition, that if I do all these right things, then that earns me my spot. And this passage says that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. But yeah, it's yeah, just right. Yeah, it's right. It's a kind of a response to the grace. Why else would I want to? I mean, if God offers me this grace, God, I'm a sinner. I'm a sinner. That's it. Oh. Well, that is a part of their response. I mean, well, the notion at the end that all who are exalt themselves will be humbled, and all who humble themselves will be exalted. You know, that's a part of that. That humble living, right? Mm, mm, mm-hmm. Oh. I see. Now you jumped ahead. I mean, I'm 17 minutes into it. Sometimes we're both of these people. Sometimes, I was going to say, which one are you? Because we always identify. And I'm going to say, I have to tell you that this passage really splits us as, our identity. We're kind of this mixed bag. And some days we really recognize our humility. And other days we're more like this justification. And we have a lot of that in our world. And this saying that I know people mean well by it, and said it myself, we see somebody that we consider inferior to us, and we go, or they're struggling, whatever. Whoa, there, but by the grace of God go I. Same kind of notion here, because we're basically saying, oh, I'm better off than that dude. And and the ultimate issue is, okay, if that person's down and out or homeless, whatever in connection we want to put with them, we're saying, boy, I would be in that spot, and I'm glad I'm not. But that person, are we saying there's no grace extended to that person? something in that we have to think about, because ultimately this person is kind of, I know this, and this is political season, right? We can't turn on television without seeing political ads, and they all start out kind of like this these days. I approve this message. I might be bad, but my opponent is terrible. You know, I am. Thank you. I approve that message. So, you know, he says, the other person living back, and you go. He said, "Hey, I approve this message. You think I'm bad? Whoa, he's really bad. So you may hate me, but he's terrible." And so this is kind of where we get into this notion in this passage, is that when we start looking at ourselves in comparison to others in the world, like, boy, they're terrible. Oh, I'm so glad I'm not like them. Wow, they're awful. Because here's the thing about comparisons. We're always going to set the comparison up to where we win. I mean, it's just the way it goes. Whenever we start going, ooh, that person's that and I'm this, so I am so much better off than that. We're always going to set the parameters to where I'm in my favor falls, and this passage kind of confronts us on all those levels of our comparisons, and that it's our only prayer is our standard against God or against Jesus. That's the only normative we have. And so when we compare ourselves to that, then the only option is, God, be merciful on me. I'm a sinner. And that's really the only prayer we're left with in that kind of comparison. Uh-huh. Eh, right. Yeah. That's a good question. Good question, everybody. Eh, 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 eh. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Mm, right. 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 Yeah. That's a great question. So, I think you see, and that is a great way of looking at them, Joe. Is that comparables are supposed to frustrate us on some levels. On some levels, they are supposed to make us feel okay, like, okay, I get it. I'm a sinner. I can relate to that. But they're also kind of to push back on us. Now, wait a second. We're getting mad at a guy here who is trying to be religious as he possibly can. Unfortunately, he has some issues there. All right, and there is it's good. See, they're supposed to make us struggle, and I also think that we make a major mistake when we fall on one side or the other of the parable. I mean, I don't mind that Luke tells us right off the bat, that this is for people who trust in themselves and were righteous regarding others and regarding others with contempt. It's great that we're kind of told up front, but then again, now we can't push ourselves beyond that, those parameters on this parable. So that's a great question. So is it wrong to be thankful, ultimately? And then, of course, we have to say to ourselves, aren't there other passages where we say we're very thankful, that cause us to be thankful? Yeah, I would say it's great to be thankful that you had guidance in your life, that we didn't turn out, that in other ways, that we are sitting here on a Sunday morning, and there's nothing wrong to be thankful about that, I don't think. But then again, that's where the tension of the faith lies for all of us, that we struggle with all the time. We're told to do these things. We're told to pray. We're told to, how many times do I ask y'all to pray in a service on Sunday morning? Goodness gracious, like 4 or 5 times. You know, I say, join me in this prayer. Join me in this prayer. Hey, y'all join me in with one more prayer. I mean, so praying's good. Um, I don't really ask people to fast, but I mean, except for during Lent. But what would it hurt? I mean, not necessarily. I mean, for us to where we set aside things in our lives to focus on God and on faith. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, it is that struggle, though, Joe, that we have all the time. I mean, with the tension of being both of these characters in our life. So, where does this play out for us then? What is our issue here? It's a daily struggle, right? That to be righteous but not be proud of it. Right, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's the key. That's right. It's a checklist. That's right. Yeah, that. Yes. Yeah, you don't get a better room, right? Right, that we have more stars in the crown, as we tend to say. That's right. Yeah, that the one who goes home justified is the one who recognizes their sinfulness, as opposed to the one who was pretty happy with themselves. I mean, right, right. But then there's also the flip side of that is, gosh, I am so humble and proud of it. I mean, you know. Yeah, that's right. I mean, yeah, I mean, so there's always those, and sometimes I say, boy, when you're standing up here and you're so thankful for the things that your congregation's doing, and you go, boy, I'm so glad that y'all are doing, and then, but don't be prideful. Don't be prideful about it, but, right. So, where does this leave us then today as a church, and how we view other people, and how we view righteousness and sinfulness? Okay, yes, it's about God's grace, right? Yeah. Ooh, okay. About, there's some of my friends always say, when we sit in circles and talk about theology, and it's like they say, you're so Dutch Reformed because your theology is really about you and not about you. And it's probably true that's when I understand things and hear things, it's just like, well, that person did that. I say, why am I concerned about that? I mean, that's not me. I mean, yeah, I don't want people to hurt other people or struggle, but I mean, my focus is what's my response? How do I interact in this, and how do I go forward? And I think that this is one of those places that really calls for us for this introspection of our faithfulness and righteousness, but also our recognition of our own sinfulness. And maybe as a congregation too, that churches can be that way. Oh, those other people, boy, I do it myself. I in the Pentecostal perspective that I grew up in, that could look down on other people, I sit there and go, boy, I am so glad that I'm a Presbyterian and I don't sit around looking out on other people like those Pentecostals. Thank God I'm not one of them anymore. And it's like, whoa, wait a second. That's the same prayer. That's the same prayer. You can't be doing that. And I think that's what this struggle, it really brings us to, this constant, as I've talked about before, our faith is this constant tension that we're in this world of God's grace and our response to that, as opposed to our actions earn us this grace. And that's this tension that is really always there. It's kind of neat. I mean, it's a great story. I love this parable because it pushes us as the religious people to go. And we are religious, and we might as well admit that. I mean, when people go, boy, you sure are religious, I'm like, I am, okay? I am. That's what I am. Um, with all of the good parts about it and all the struggles about it, that this is who I'm a part of. This is what I'm a part of. And that in this parable, Jesus is calling us to think about God's grace for all of us and my response to that. And our response is, I don't sit around, stand up here in the pulpit going, yep, 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 better than them, you know? And then, but it's just, nope. This is about me that, hey, I'm a sinner. And how that pushes us to interact with other people too. That when we recognize our sinfulness, how does that cause us to respond to each other? That might change how we interact with each other. Possible. Let's pray. Gracious God, we give thanks for parables that do comfort us, but also just frustrate us as well when we have to think them out and how we apply them to who we are. We give thanks for your grace, and we give thanks for the offerings of prayers in parables that say, have mercy on me, for I'm a sinner.